We all get that there's biased media out there, and Fox and Friends might be about as biased as it comes, but sometimes the news is so obvious that it simply has to be addressed. You can't dodge it. And so I want to give credit to Fox and Friends this morning for sticking to the most important issues.
It's unbelievable. It's supposed to be Janice introduces gluten-free International House of Pancakes Day.
But you told us, you gave us all of the history of it. I thought, it's time for me to eat.
Right. So Brian, take it away.
Well, I will say a few things.
What
when I
else
go into IHOP, I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed about the way we're coming up with different ways of flavoring syrup. I mean, you thought a lot of sugar and sap, and just putting a funnel in a tree was enough.
This is
but now there's blueberries.
I cannot taste the difference.
I'm always amazed at the different ways we come up to flavor syrup. I thought you just stuck a needle in a tree and threw some sugar at it, but now there's blueberry. I don't think blueberry is a new innovation. I think that they've had those. I'm pretty sure IHOP has had that since I was a child. He's the dumbest person on TV. He makes Steve Doocy look like an intelligent person, and he makes so much money. So that's what you'll get for Fox and Friends. That's what Donald Trump is watching and probably developing a craving for IHOP right now. So this is one strategy on Fox News. When the news is so obviously bad for the president, just bring on the flapjacks. So that's one way you can go. The other way, you might be forced into a fight, an internal fight to Fox News as a result of Shep Smith having a guest on that simply acknowledged what seems clear, that Donald Trump appears to have committed a crime. So Shep Smith had that. He's, a host on Fox. And so another host on Fox, who's a much bigger defender of the president, wasn't gonna stand by and let that happen.
Yesterday, Judge Andrew Napolitano, who is a legal analyst at Fox and a very nice guy, I will say, I've always liked him, went on one of our daytime shows and declared that the president's phone call with the head of Ukraine was a crime. Well, apparently, our daytime host, who hosted Judge Napolitano, was watching last night and was outraged by what you said, and quite ironically, called you partisan. Here's what he said.
A partisan guest who supports President Trump was asked about Judge Napolitano's legal assessment. And when he was asked, he said, unchallenged, Judge Napolitano is a fool. Attacking our colleague who's here to offer legal assessments on our air in our work home is repugnant.
Repugnant. Not clear if that was you or me, but someone's repugnant. Now, unlike maybe some dayside hosts, I'm not very partisan, and it was a sincere question. Is it a crime or not? So given everything that's happened in the last 24 hours, I just want to throw it to you again. Was it a crime or not?
Absolutely not.
People of goodwill have differing views.
Yes.
And so that's why it doesn't seem honest to me when a host, any host on any channel, including this one, pretends that the answer is obvious. There is an ironclad consensus about what the answer is, when there in fact isn't. Wouldn't it be better if we just said out loud, this is what I think? And I'll just say, for example, you'll never hear me criticize Rachel Maddow.
There were like 5 examples there of why I'm so frustrated every time someone twists themselves in a mental pretzel to try to normalize Tucker Carlson or pretend that he's some sort of free thinker. First of all, he claimed there, I'm not really partisan at all. I only will support literally every Republican president for the entirety of my life, in lockstep. I can say whatever I want about supposedly my interest in populism or helping out people, questioning the elites and all that. I will support every Republican until the day I die. So that's the nonpartisan Tucker Carlson. I love him weirdly not being willing to name Shep Smith, and he keeps mocking the fact that he's a daytime host. He keeps saying the daytime hosts here may think something. But then there's, of course, the gigantic logical gaps there. So he attacks Shep Smith for having a guest on who implies that Trump has committed a crime. Tucker's issue with that is that is Shep Smith being dishonest. So it's ridiculous to claim that this is a clear, like an open and shut thing, to be able to say that it is a crime. And it is embarrassing for Shep Smith to have a guest come on and say that, because secretly Shep Smith wants to say that, but he won't actually admit how partisan he is. So what does Tucker Carlson do? He says he's not partisan, brings on a guest who says it's absolutely not a crime, implying that it's an open and shut thing. And he does that to hide the fact that obviously he doesn't think that it's a crime. He is in the middle of like a 1 minute period of video doing everything he is claiming that Shep Smith is doing, and doing it with a stupid grin on his face because he thinks he's outsmarted people. Now he's mostly right, he's outsmarted his audience. They're not gonna catch on to any of this, but it is obviously ridiculous on its face. And it's interesting to see Fox, as this story develops, start to feud with each other. I don't know how many others are gonna come out and sort of acknowledge reality, but Shep Smith, he can reliably be expected to do that. Juan Williams on the 5 yesterday, so he acknowledged that White House talking points seem to be going around. He didn't even say that Fox was doing it. He certainly didn't say that the 5 was doing it, but go find that video. Jordan Ewell tweeted it out. The whole place explodes over that accusation. Greg Gutfeld like sits back and crosses his arms and say, did you read that on Media Matters? Because they know what they're doing. They got those talking points, and maybe they already agreed with most of them. Maybe they would have said them even without them. But they're definitely spreading the talking points that the White House wants them to, and they don't like to their face being accused of doing that. It isn't just right-wing media that's trying to figure out how exactly they're supposed to play this thing. As more and more details come out about Trump and what he did, what message are they supposed to be sending? The New York Times is also getting itself in some hot water. It put out an article today. Now, whether it intended to or not, and I happen to think it kind of did, it is being used, this article, to imply that swing voters are already done with this impeachment thing. They're not interested, they're sticking by the president, I guess. They've got anxiety. The article makes a reference to a bunch of different emotions they're experiencing. But here is the con that is being played. While you can go on Twitter right now and search 6 swing voters, that's who they supposedly talk to. I wanna give you an idea of who these swing voters are. So we've got Trisha Hope, who has been to 23 Make America Great Again rallies around the country and compiled a collection of Mr. Trump's tweets in a book. She said that she saw nothing improper in the publicly released version of the call, and that the formal move towards impeachment had strengthened her support. Well, that is fascinating. Someone who's been to 23 Trump rallies, who is at Trump rallies with a booth selling a book of Trump tweets. She doesn't think he did anything wrong. That is fascinating. Thank you to the New York Times for tracking down this swing voter, an independent who could have gone either way in 2020. You've also got a quote from Reggie Dickerson, 54-year-old pipe fitter and timber worker who lives in Eastern Kentucky. Sounds like the stereotypical person you'd want to talk to on something like this. He says, I think it's an absolute joke, the whole thing, which is totally his right to think that this whole thing is a joke. You should understand though, before you decide that he is just some independent swing voter, he has been interviewed multiple times by the New York Times. Many of these people have. They keep going back to the same Trump supporters. Here's a photo from one of those articles. And so you can see him and what looks like a delightful Christmas tree and a framed portrait of Robert E. Lee. So maybe not a total independent who could go either way on Donald Trump or on the Republican Party. I think he might be predisposed to listen to what the president has to say. The whole thing is ridiculous. We don't know at this point where the public will come down on impeachment. I can say that at this point, they're already more supportive than they were back during the Nixon years. You can look at the comparison of those polls, and you can also see that public opinion switched very quickly with Richard Nixon. That won't necessarily happen here, but we have to wait and find out. Thank you for watching this clip from The Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.